Hey yogis, Kit here. I'm just going to do a little work this morning for the sacral chakra. So working from the lumbar spine right down into the sacrum, so into the tailbone, so that we can open up that lower section of the body. So we're going to move, we're going to do a little bit of core work so that we can draw the belly into the spine and activate the core there, because that's going to be a necessary part of this. But instead of having the focus in our warrior two on opening up through the hip joints and finding that external rotation, we're going to draw the belly into the spine and work on opening through the back body. So it's a little bit different. So we're going to start today in downward facing dog. Before you come into this video, always my advice here would be to warm up through Sun Salutations A and B, building some of that tapas and warmth through the body so that you can warm up and feel a little juicier in your practice. So once you've moved through that, come back and join me on the mat. We're going to press the hands, palms into the mat and come up into downward facing dog. Flipping my little sweat towel off the mat there. Pressing the hands, palms down and grounding the heels towards the earth. So normally here the direction would be to lift the hips and lengthen through the hamstrings. So there is still a little essence of that, but what I would like you to think about here is actually drawing the tailbone down and back, drawing belly to the spine, knitting these floating ribs together and really feeling the extension through the back body here. So it's almost like you're feeling a rounding in the sacrum, so that the tailbone is, or the hips are drawing back down towards the earth, which is kind of the opposite to what we say in downward dog normally. It's normally lift the hips. So the hips are still lifted, but you kind of have this outward, this spiraling of the sacrum here, which is even a weird expression in itself. So my heels are grounded down to the earth, belly is drawing back towards the spine. My armpits are wrapping down towards the earth, and I'm feeling that extension through the back body. So I'm just going to show you the difference here is this pressing back and opening up through the heart space and sinking almost between the shoulders. I'm going to lift up and draw into the belly, knitting the floating ribs together and press back. So I'm really feeling that lengthening in the spine. From here, we're going to come forward into our plank pose and still keeping that belly to spine action and sending the tailbone towards the back of the mat, crown of the head forward. Inhale and lift, go ahead and lift the right leg up off the earth. From here, we're going to bring that right knee all the way up to the right tricep. And we're going to take that back. We're going to do that 3 more times. Inhale, exhale, and inhale. 2 more times. Exhale as you bring that into the tricep. Inhale as you lengthen back. Continuing to lengthen through the crown of the head to tailbone. And 1 more time. And back. Have a little moment, press back into downward dog. Find some of those cues, some of those little adjustments. Wrapping the armpits down towards the earth, belly towards the spine, and knitting these 2 floating ribs together. So you're really feeling that extension through the back body. Instead of thinking about lifting the hips up to the sky, think about drawing the tailbone down towards the earth and lengthening through the back body. Inhale and come back to your plank pose. Go ahead and lift the left foot up off the floor. Here we go with this lovely core work here, which I know everyone loves. As you exhale, bring that knee up to the tricep. Inhale, lengthen, take it back. Belly to spine, exhale, knee to the tricep. Inhale, take it back. 2 more, exhale, knee to tricep. Inhale, take it back. Last one, belly to spine, lengthening through the back body. And back. Take it up, downward facing dog. From here, I want you to lift that right leg straight up. We've got the hips square to the earth at this point. So don't lift the legs super high here. Keep drawing the belly into the spine and see if you can send that foot. So as opposed to lifting it here, lifting into the hip, keep the hips squared, press the hands into the earth and send that foot to the back of the room. So you're really feeling that lengthening through the back body. Now draw the belly to spine, and it's almost like that right hip pulls back into the hip socket, feeling that lengthening through the lumbar spine. Knitting the floating ribs together, totally different sensation here.
Exhale and release. Inhale, left leg lifts. Keep the hips square. Instead of lifting that leg, we're going to keep that at a moderate height. Press the hands into the earth and draw the back toe towards the back corner of the room. So this right foot is really grounded and connected here. The hip, or the top of the femur, is pulling back into that hip socket, belly to spine. Knit the floating ribs together and lengthen through that back body. Beautiful lengthening in the lumbar spine. Exhale and release. From here, we're going to come into a variation of Warrior Two. So inhale and lift the right leg. As you exhale, rise up onto that toe. Go ahead and bring the knee into the chest. So I want you to feel like you're continually lifting the belly to the spine here as you shift forward into this plank position. And bring the right foot close to the right hand. Now I'm going to ask you to stay with the hands on the mat here, maybe even fingertips. Now start to lift the belly off the thigh. So we're not focused on this opening of the hip here, but I'm focused on my lumbar and the sacral region here. So I'm lifting the belly up off my thigh, drawing the belly into the spine, and I'm pulling this right hip back in space here. And I'm feeling that into and opening up through the lower back. I can even feel that activation of the glutes here. So now I'm going to bring right hand to the right shin. So you've got a little bit of a grip there. Dial that left foot down so that you're going to come into this variation of your Warrior Two. Now, using some hand strength into that shin, stay down, keep belly drawn into the spine, and you're going to notice this opening through the back body here. Keep reaching with your left arm as you draw up towards the sky. So this kind of might seem like a what on earth am I doing here position. But if you are in here drawing the belly to the spine, knitting these floating ribs together, you're going to notice an opening through this left-hand side of the body at the back here and into the lumbar spine. So I really want you to think about that. So as opposed to thinking about external rotation of the legs and the hips here, I want you to think about opening through the lumbar spine. So belly to spine, knit the floating ribs, and pull back into that space. Really use the pressure, the hand on that shin to open. Now start to draw the leg down, but don't lose this contraction in here or this belly to spine activation as you lift up and feel that beautiful extension. Start to draw the leg down a little bit, keep that belly to spine. And now as you inhale, come on up to your Warrior Two. Release the hands down to the hips. Find a little bit of movement here. So I want you to close the eyes if you can and bring the upper body until it's centered over the top of the hips. Now, without focusing on the external rotation here, draw the tailbone down towards the earth. Keep that belly to spine activation. And see if you can find a little bit more space in the hips here. Now, we haven't even focused at all on external rotation, and I can already feel this feels better in my hips and in my legs. I've really opened up through that space. And once you feel like you've reached a little bit of a Sthira-Sukhanasana, that place at comfort and ease, that place of steadiness, lift the arms and gaze off into enlightenment over that right hand. You can just stay here for a moment, still drawing that belly to spine, feeling the difference in this Warrior Two. Exhale, release the hands back down to the mat and step back, go straight into your downward facing dog. A little bit of movement here, and you might shift onto the balls of the feet. Nothing too monumental, but just feeling that lengthening through the back body. We're going to come into the other side. So I'm just going to turn myself around for demonstration on the other side. And we're going to inhale and lift that left leg. So again, we're grounding the right foot into the earth, drawing belly to spine and feeling that lengthening through the back body, as opposed to the lift of the hip and the arch into the back. We're drawing belly to spine and lengthening that lumbar spine, wrapping the armpits down towards the earth and knitting the floating ribs together. As you exhale, bring that knee in towards the chest, still feeling that lift and that activation of the core as you step the left foot towards the left hand. And from here we come up onto the fingertips, and we're still drawing belly towards the spine and lifting that up and off the thigh. Dialing that right heel down towards the earth. I'm going to grab left hand onto the left shin, still drawing belly to spine, knitting those floating ribs and feeling this opening this time in the right side. So as we continue to lift, and I'm going to raise that right arm up towards the sky, feeling that difference in the back body. Belly to spine, pressing your hand into your left shin and feeling that opening. So we're going to come to lift into Warrior Two. So continue to feel that activation of the core as you lift up and bring the hands to the waist. Now I'm not focused on this hip opening at all. My activation is belly to spine, knitting of the floating ribs. I'm drawing the tailbone down towards the earth and just feeling a little bit more opening here. I might even close the eyes and feel my way into this posture. That connection with the breath. All those little micro adjustments happening. And when you're ready, you can float the hands up so that they're at shoulder height, reaching from one fingertip to the other. And feeling your way into this variation of Warrior Two. I'm going to windmill the hands back down towards the earth and step straight back into downward facing dog. Again, belly to spine, knitting those floating ribs and feeling the length. Maybe it feels a little bit different this time in downward facing dog. So now we're going to go ahead and lift the right leg again. Again, not opening up into that hip, keeping that square, pressing the hands into the earth and sending that right foot towards the back of the room as the left foot grounds and connects into the earth. Exhale, bring the knee into the chest. Keep drawing the belly to the spine so that you can really feel the activation of the core there. And step forward, right foot coming to right hand. So I've still got the belly up off the spine, but I've stayed in crescent lunge this time. As you start to lift up, draw the arms back, belly to spine. See if you can send the hips almost as though they're going to draw back down that left supporting leg. And you're feeling the length all the way from the shoulders into the back body, even through the cervical spine. So the focus is not on lifting the heart space here and coming forward, but on drawing belly to spine and lifting the collarbones. You're going to take 2 more breaths here. Sending the hands back in line with that left leg. You can feel the tailbone drawing down and back. You might even find a little bit more depth in that pose. Just don't lose that connection of the core and the knitting with the floating ribs. Exhale and release. Step back to plank. If you're feeling keen, you can take a vinyasa here, or you can meet us in downward facing dog. Coming back to our beautiful open downward facing dog. We're going to inhale, lift that left foot, ground the right foot into the earth. Wrap the armpits down towards the earth, belly to spine. The focus is on opening that back body. As you exhale, bring the knee through to the chest, drawing belly to spine, feeling that lengthening. Step the left foot to the left hand. Coming into our crescent lunge, I'm on fingertips here. Draw belly to spine, left hip comes back in space. We've got those hips nice and square, lengthening through your right heel. And start to inhale, lift the arms, draw the shoulders down and back, belly to spine, knit the floating ribs, crown of the head, collarbones lifting,
Making those small micro adjustments every time one thing moves, something else gives, you've got to readjust. That's perfectly fine. If you're wobbling, work with the wobbles. 2 more breaths here as you send the hands back in line with that back extended leg. Drop a little deeper down without losing that connection, drawing the tailbone down so there's no pelvic tilt happening. Exhale and release the hands down to the earth. Step back into plank, take a vinyasa. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, Ardha Mukha. Downward facing dog. Drop down onto the knees. Untuck the toes. Sit the hips back to the heels. Take the hands by the side of the feet. Relax the forehead onto the earth. And take child's pose, Balasana. Just allow yourself to breathe and relax here. Shoulders melting down towards the earth. The hips towards the heel. And notice how this section of the body feels. Might feel a little bit of a respite. If so, I'm extremely happy. So you can stay in your child's pose in that Balasana for as long as you like, coming out of that little back opening sacral warrior 2 variation. It's interesting as we move through some of these postures and all these shapes, these yoga shapes, that we don't always just have to focus on the same things. Oh, get the knee over the toe, get the back outside edge, knife edge. Like, of course, all of those little things are still there. But sometimes if you shift the focus a little bit and you step out of what the normal thought process is, which is, we always go back because we're creatures of habit and work through the same things. So again, you know, that I just let you know what my focus was. Oh, like track the knee over the toe, make sure I've got the external rotation, that I'm spiraling up through the legs and that I've got that lift. There are so many micro adjustments that we do and cues that we learn along the way through our yoga, through our practice. So sometimes as we shift that focus and we move away from what the standard messaging is that we've come to tell ourselves as we move into a posture, maybe listening for some new cues, like that hand down onto your shin and lifting up through the belly, finding that length in the back body, just might help you move through your warrior 2 in a different way. And of course, there was no rushing through those postures. So I know sometimes in our vinyasa flow, and particularly if you're practicing Ashtanga vinyasa, that's a very fast practice. And you know, we constantly move through there, and that's what makes it such a beautiful challenge, is orchestrating the dance of the Ashtanga vinyasa whilst you know, achieving the outcome as you move through each of the asana in the series. And it's what makes it so beautiful and so challenging at the same time. In order to achieve those outcomes, slowing your practice down and working through some of these micro adjustments can be super helpful. Not only that, but it allows the brain to slow down and be very present in this moment. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial this morning, and I hope and I wish for you a wonderful